recording.
Okay, perfect. So Femke, you can start with the introduction, please.
I hope sound is because me it well.
Femke, your sound is not good. We cannot hear you. Femke, are you still there? I think she's checking out and in again. So let's see how that goes. Okay, since Femke's phone is not really working in the wind-free connection, I will give you the introduction of today. Welcome everyone, my name is Lisanne van Happen and I'm the Head of Talent Development at FOTODOK. It's very good to all have you here today. We have a lot of great photographers that were selected from the Blurring the Lines program. We also have Klaus Früchtnis and Steve Bisson here, the founders of Blurring the Lines, so very welcome to have you here. These participants were selected in 2021 from the Blurring the Lines edition, so they all graduated last year. This takeoff edition, we will see work that they graduated with, or maybe even new work that they have been creating the last year. We will definitely be surprised today. We will have 13 participants and we will start with Rick van de Klooster in a minute. Before we do that, I would like to ask you to turn on your camera for at least a few seconds, so the people in this space can all see each other. During the presentations, I would like to ask you to turn off your camera. And when we have Q&As, you can turn them on again to ask questions, so people can also see. Oh, it's really nice to see so many faces. So I think, well, this is already the 4th edition of the Takeoff, and it's fantastic that we can see so many graduation work by all of you from people all around the world, because I think we have 13 different countries covered today by 13 different artists. So that's fantastic in itself. If you have any technical questions in the meantime, or the connection is bad, or you would like to ask any behind the scenes questions, please reach out to Vika. I think her phone number is in the chat. If you have any other questions, feel free to raise your hand or share something in the chat. The presentations will take up until 3 minutes per person, which is very sharp. But afterwards, we will have about 4 minutes per person to ask questions. So also for you as experts in the field, use this time to also ask your questions. Put them in the chat and I will ask them on behalf of you, or I will ask you to ask the question yourself. I think this is it for now. I'm really looking forward to the upcoming 2 hours. We will stay sharp on time, but we do have a little bit of spare time left because of 2 people who could not join, unfortunately, today. So I'm looking forward to it. And Rick, you can start with your presentation.
All right, can you hear me? I'm not sure if the microphone works because I don't see it pop up, but
we can hear you.
Okay. And it says the host disabled participant screen sharing, so that makes it a little bit hard to share the screen.
You should be able to do it now.
Thank you. All right. So my name is Rick van der Klooster. I live in Rotterdam, and I graduated last year at the St. Joost's Academy in Breda, the Netherlands. I graduated with my study project called The Day the Birds Stop Singing, but today I will tell you something about myself and about my new project. So I was born in Zeeland, next to the dike that first broke at the disaster of 1953. That's where I grew up. And in my youth, my dad died really young, and my mom also always was a little bit worried about life in a general view, but also because we live next to the sea, and once in a while the alarm goes off, and then that's the sign that there could be some danger to the place where we lived. So I grew up with, I was extremely aware of how transient and vulnerable we are as people. And my mother always brought us to the mountains in Austria, and that's where she wanted to continue her bed and breakfast higher up above the sea. But when I was 18 years old, she also died. So that made my life, that like shaped my life and my work. So themes like transience and precarity and nature play a very big role in both my personal life and my work. So I'm going back 5 years after my mother died. I went back to this particular landscape where I always went with my mother. And I started working on the project that's now called A Conversation Between the Mountain and the River. And it focuses on grief, nature, and memory. For this project, I wandered the landscape there and really submerged myself in the mountains. And the most important thing for me there is to communicate through my camera, because what first started as going back to maybe as some type of therapy for my personal trauma became something else. In a way, this landscape is reminding me of things that I've lost, not only from my mother, but mostly. And while I wander in this landscape, I try to find symbols and metaphors in the landscape that communicate these feelings, these emotions that I have. And sometimes that's really confronting, and sometimes I think it really helps to be there and photograph. And there was something interesting when I was there last month, really. I saw this memorial stone which said in German, "Death is when no one remembers you." And I didn't know the person on the stone, but it really reminded me of what I was doing there, because that's exactly it's exactly the feeling I have there, because I almost forgot my mother in a sense that I didn't know who she really was. And when I came back to this landscape remembered me in a different way of my mother. And that's the most important thing in the project for me. And what I want to tell to the readers is that if you lose someone or something, they will never die as long as you have a place or a person or a feeling or anything that reminds you of this person. And that's exactly what I try to communicate in this project, that it is a place of when someone dies, there you can always find a place to let them live on in you and let them live on in the landscape. So as long as this landscape exists, my mother can live on, and that's the project until now. It's still ongoing. I hope I can finish it next year. Yeah, until so far.
Thank you very much, Rick. How has been life after graduating for you?
Pretty all right, to be honest. Yeah, no, it's fine. I've got some fun jobs, and my graduation project got picked up by a lot of really cool platforms and cool people. So I've met a lot of new people and got a lot of new ideas, and yeah, so in general it's going great, I guess.
So thank you very much for sharing your work. I have a question. So your work is obviously very personal. Who do you see as your audience?
I think mainly people who experienced loss on their own, and also the more and more I come back to this landscape, the more I think about people who find some spiritual connection with a landscape, and that doesn't have to be spiritual in a sense that you believe in I don't know, in ghosts or anything from nature, but more in a way that you can connect with nature to come deeper to yourself. So I guess that yeah, it's mostly for people who deal with grief, and then for people who want to find spirit, like myths or spiritual things in the natural landscape, and for people who like mountains, I guess, because there are a lot of mountains in there.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Rick.
Yeah.
If anyone would like to connect with Rick, feel free to send him a message via the chat, or reach out to us via FOTODOK so we can connect you via email or via phone as well. We're going to, we have a question, Rick, by Margaret Rotteville. So with this new focus, always remembering a lost one, what are the pictures you're still looking for? So what's still missing?
More people, I guess, because I photographed a lot of landscapes, and just recently I started photographing people in the landscape, either friends or people I encounter there. And especially people who I encounter there are something I really want to take some time for and go back for that again, because if I create an image with someone I know, I can really create it in a way that I really like. And for example, there was one picture of a man with a scythe in it, which is perfect if you make a project about death, to find someone with a scythe. And that's, I think that's can add a lot to the story, and so that's the pictures I'm still looking for are mostly people, I guess.
Okay, thank you very much, Rick. We're going to continue with Austin Cullen. Are you there, Austin? Yes, you're there.
Can you all hear me?
Are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Yeah, let me get that just set up really quickly. Can everybody see this all right?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So hi, everybody. My name is Austin Cullen, and I'm an American photographer based out of Houston, Texas. And today I'll be sharing some images and information from my ongoing project that I started during my time in graduate school. I went to school at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. So my project is titled A Natural History Built to be Seen, and it's a series of photographs of the different ways the natural world is presented within American museums. The subjects of the photographs include displays from both the front-facing visitor side of the museum and the back, more research-focused side, places like archives and fabrication labs. And in both spaces, my images emphasize the constructed qualities of the displays. So my background or my initial interest with this project is that I grew up always visiting natural history museums. That was sort of how I came to understand the natural world. And I don't think that's a totally uncommon thing for people in major metropolitan areas like Houston. So I've always been fascinated with the extravagant ways that museums frame the American landscape. Dramatic dioramas, interactive virtual experiences, and miniaturized landscapes all acted as windows into the natural world. And while that framing provided a guide for reading and understanding nature, I think that that same frame can be analyzed to reveal the complex and ever-changing relationship between people, culture, and land. So as a photographer, I also can't help but notice the similarities between museums and the medium of photography. Like natural history museums, photography also frames views and viewpoints, and both also share this misconception of objectivity. Both use composition, perspective, lighting, intent, and manipulation to frame specific narratives. And in my images, I play with the perceived truthfulness of photography by creating images that at first seem real or natural, but slowly reveal themselves as constructed scenes. So in doing this, my images subvert viewers' expectations of what they're looking at and what is natural. So in my photographs, the landscapes have a perceived depth, but that depth is disrupted by my interventions, such as the use of black and white, flash, forced perspective, and cropping. So museums hold considerable power when it comes to defining the boundaries between people and the environment. And in an age of global climate crisis, it's imperative to understand how these institutions guide how we interact with and shape the world. So going forward, I'm planning on meeting with more American museums and commercial fabricators to further flesh out my project. I don't think it's anywhere. I don't really see an end in sight. I feel like every time I make a new image, another 5 pop into my head. And additionally, I want to experiment more with display because so much of the project is around the ideologies of display that I think there's still something really interesting to get out of that play. And if you wish to get in contact with me, I have my email and Instagram handle up on the screen. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Austin. Very interesting work. And it's also good to hear you talk about it. We already have a question by Steve Bisson. He's actually also a little bit a question for Rick because both of you actually photograph in black and white. So why did you choose to do your complete series in black and white?
Yeah, so within museums, you know, a lot of the dioramas and exhibits are really aging. And I think that that color is like really saturated and it kind of gives away the spaces I'm photographing as being totally fabricated at the get-go. So I like that my images slowly unravel the longer you look at them. By removing color, they kind of sit a little bit more between, you know, reality and complete construction. So I like kind of almost, you know, adding that other layer of confusion to the viewing experience.
Yes, thank you very much. That makes complete sense. And I'm also wondering, you talked about power structures. The power structures of musea and I think in general places where things are exhibited in the role that they play a big role in what we see and what we don't see and in which context, of course. So I'm also curious, is this a topic that you're interested in more general, and would that also be maybe a starting point for an upcoming project?
Of course, museums was just something that were really, they were prevalent whenever I was growing up. That's if I wanted to learn about the sea or about mountains or faraway places, I had to go to museums to learn those things. And whenever I was in graduate school, we just were fortunate enough to have so many great museums and collections nearby. But, kind of starting with museums and learning how institutions inform the way people read the landscape, I think is definitely a great starting point to kind of see that on a more broader scale, because it's definitely not just museums, of course.
Yes, thank you. So we have a question by Isabelle van Hemert. She says, thank you, beautiful images. How do you relate to other photographers who have had the Natural Museum as their focus?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're all kind of looking at the museum in a similar way, but slightly differently. For me, I'm always really concerned with how museums influence how we look at the larger natural world. So I also have some images like my second to last one, if I can get back to it. Oh no, this one, where we see how that actually works out in the real world. Like how do things like visitor centers and natural parks then kind of adopt the same strategies as museums. But of course, I am coming in like a long lineage of photographers photographing with a museum. So it's something that I'm always very conscious of.
Okay, thank you very much. So another question, Isabella says, interesting, thank you. Another question by Daria Tuminas. She asked, what is this specificity or specificities of these ideologies of display in the USA?
Yeah, I think they're all very Eurocentric, and they tend to have a lot of ties to the sublime, as in like landscapes are inherently somewhat godly. I think that they're kind of holdovers from the way that the Western landscape was viewed during Manifest Destiny. So that tends to mean that these grand landscapes kind of get elevated and lesser landscapes sort of get bulldozed, as well as, it being pretty much a white-centric space. Indigenous voices and alternative views of the natural world are sort of pushed to the side for this one unified view, which
I think I lost you for just a second. Are you still there, Austin?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I think I lost you for just 1 second, but I did understand your answer. I do have to say that Daria's question was actually, I missed the question she asked before. So I'm going to ask that one as well, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
So she says, thank you, Austin. Can you elaborate a bit more on the ideologies of display that you're interested in? And are they also specific to US musea versus any other place?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think you may have cut out. Hold up, I can see the chat.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
The question was, can you elaborate a bit more on the ideologies of display that you are interested in? And are they also specific to US musea versus any other place?
From what I found, a lot of the ideologies behind the displays themselves that I'm fascinated with are the ones that are more grand and more tied to the ideas of the sublime, which are mostly found within, it's really tied to the American landscape, because that's kind of what pushed forward westward expansion. If you look at paintings from the Hudson School, all those depictions of the American landscape are kind of the same depictions you see within museums and within dioramas. So there's always this appreciation of the bold, more Eurocentric perspectives of the natural world. And those are kind of the ideologies that I'm pushing against, because I think that those are, fairly dated or very dated. And yeah, that's something that I'm really interested in constructing.
Okay, thank you very much, Austin. We have to continue. If you have any questions for Austin, please share them in the chat privately with him or send us an email. So we're going to continue with the presentation of Susanna Gabriel. Susanna, are you there? Yes, I can see you.
Yes, hi. I'm going to just share my screen. Okay. So hi, I'm Susanna, and I've just started a quotation, which is a sentence that basically describes who I am. So I'm an empathetic portrait photographer who also hand embroiders on her photography. And that's something I started while studying on the MA Fashion Photography course at London College of Fashion. Here's just a bit about me. So I graduated with a distinction and my final project was titled Black Hurts, which I'll get into. And I sort of shoot editorials, fashion, portraits, documentary, and most recently I've become a mixed media visual artist. Here are some of my credentials. So recently I was, I sort of was involved in the campaign for Beats by Dre, but I've also been published in Teen Vogue, Vice, Days, Guardian, and I was on ITV. And Black Hurts has been involved in two exhibitions, one of them being alongside Rankin, who's a renowned London photographer. And I'm from London and I was born and bred there. So Black Hurts is an exploration into double consciousness and liminality in relation to Black Britishness. And Black Hurts was sort of birthed in the wake of Black Lives Matter, which I'm sure we're all aware of. And I know a lot of people then say, but that happened in America. Black Lives Matter as in the movement actually started in the UK. And that's where the relevance also comes. And it was quite important for me to not have them as separate entities because in fact they do go hand in hand. And I also just defined the terms. So double consciousness is essentially living my life or Black people's lives in two lenses. So one being of their fellow Black sisters and brothers or the community. The second lens being with other races. So that could be white, Asians, and sort of live into how they may perceive us. And that's primarily through sort of stereotypes, etc. Liminality is essentially just not fitting in. And those sort of ideologies and concepts are quite apparent and were driving forces for the project. So I'll just show you a few images, and if you had seen my other project, One of One, you will see the similarities being the hand embroidery on the photos. So I hand embroidered every single image on paper, and these are not all the images for the project. The project was a combination of hand embroidered prints and digital images, and there were 40 final images across the board. I've included these ones specifically because I wanted to place emphasis on the embroidery, which again is something new for me and something that I started on the course as a matter of experimentation. And now it's sort of just something that I've continued with and I'm sort of adopting to my style. Yeah, so what I'm looking for. So I would love to have the final project published as a book. The images here are digitally created via Photoshop. I worked with 2 graphic designers to help me bring my vision to life. So now I've got the PDF ready. It's just a case of publishing it and understanding and knowing how to get that done. I'd love to also connect with curators, galleries, and if anybody is interested in sort of mentoring me or sort of having a talk about my work and how I can push it forward, then I'd love to connect with you. And you can find me on Instagram. Here's my website and email. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susanna. That was great to hear more about your work. I'm curious because you the embroidery you use on top of your photographs is a lot of text and a lot of information. So I'm wondering, is it your text, or is it from the subjects that you photograph?
Yeah, so it is from the subject. So I found them all on Instagram. I put a call out, and they all just reached out to me being interested in the project because, you know, they were all Black people, and they found that Black Lives Matter did affect them deeply. And so I had interviews with them, and it differs from one of one, where the texts are not direct quotations this time, but they're interpretations of what they've said. I have a writing background, so it was quite fun for me to experiment with linguistics, syntax, and using words to create meaning for the audience. And it's quite important for me to also say that the audience is not just Black people, it's everybody. For Black people, it's a case of reflection. And for everybody outside of that community, it's a case of education.
Thank you very much. That's a very, very good one. So I'm curious, do you also see your work as a co-authorship, or do you really consider it as your work?
It's a co-authorship for sure. But it's also important that the death of the creator, being my voice, is not sort of silenced out. And I do that through projects that are quite personal to me as well. So I kind of share this with all the subjects that are involved, and that's through the interviews, building rapport and building a safe space enough for them to be quite open with their stories. So that it's not just me interpreting what they're saying, so not just me writing their stories, but them telling me, interpreting it, and then getting their sort of final say on the final products before I put them out. So there's that respect as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We have one more question by Daria Tuminas. She asked, can you tell more about the design concept of the book? And also, how do you translate the materiality of embroidery into the image in a book?
Yes. So the materiality of the embroidery kind of does get lost, because the final images that will go into the book are scanned images. So you don't get that physicality, materialistic aspect of the threads, which is sort of the downside, but I did think about sort of sewing onto it. Sorry, I've just forgotten the first part of the question. It's in the chat. Yes. So the design concept. So essentially, it starts with a sort of acknowledgement, thanking everybody that was involved, and then there's 2 pages which goes into the sort of theoretical aspects. So it goes into double consciousness, it goes into liminality, and it sets that tone for all the readers that may not have come across those terms before. And then it's the images, but there is a signpost at the bottom of the page that takes you to the interviews, which are just mini transcripts, so you understand how I came to the final images, what was said, and you kind of go on that journey with us. So that's the whole concept and idea. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Susanna. So if anyone can help you with the design or with finding a gallery or an exhibition space, right? Reach out.
Please do.
So you can always reach out to me, of course. So feel free to send me an email afterwards. And I would be more than happy to help you in whatever way I can.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're going to continue with the presentation of Paavo Marinovic. Paavo, are you there?
Hello. Yes, I'm here.
Good to have you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am Paavo Marinovic. I am a photographer and visual artist from Switzerland, but I have originally I'm from Bosnia and Croatia, and I'm going to present you my diploma work that I did in ECAL in Switzerland, which is called Marble Ass, and I will talk to you a bit about it, and then if anyone has questions, I am open to answer. Is the screen okay like this for everyone?
Yes, we do see the context also as well, Paavo.
Oh yeah, sorry. Just a second. Oh. Here we go. So this is the view of my installation, how I presented my work. Marble As is a multidisciplinary photographical research on how masculinities are constructed in post-conflict societies. To be more precise, in my case, in former Yugoslavia, today the Balkans. The project itself is put together in 4 different parts or 4 different typologies of images. One is a series of self-portraits where I perform in a undefined space and interacting with a uniform. The second one is our collages of architecture and space. They kind of try to create undefined spaces. They try to also speak about reconstruction all over again and again. And also what was important for me in this case was that to show how political or social happenings can have an effect on construction of gender and sexuality in these kind of contexts. Then I also have a part where I collected imagery of popular media, of pop culture, and then I did also a lot of research in private family archives. The idea of mixing all these typologies together was to kind of be able to recreate a new narrative, to put a new point of view or a new context into my subject. And what was also important for me to present it in a form of an installation was that that I was able to translate the subject into also the space and how the viewer will interact with my photography. As you see here on this image, I try to create an installation where you're not sure if the installation is being built up or put down. It's still in construction or deconstruction, and that's also where I was going with the content of my images. And I wanted to push the idea of photography going further than print or a frame on the wall. That I really wanted to play with the fact of how photography can also live in a space and be all around the viewer and make the viewer experience the project and go really into the image. Yeah, for now, this is what I have to say. I try to keep it short. And unfortunately, I didn't put my infos to contact me in the PDF, but I will put it in the chat if anyone is interested to send me some questions or want to see my website. I will put it in the chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pavo, for sharing your work.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, I have the feeling that this is work that you have made because you would have liked to see it yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm wondering who do you think is the audience? Who should see it? Who is maybe missing it now and you want to bring it to?
I think it's not specifically to a certain group or type of viewer to see. I think it's for everyone to see, because in some way I am obviously playing with visually with stereotypical factors of how we represent Eastern Europe or how we present an Eastern European man. In one way, it is supposed to question this part, but also just the separation of Western and East, how Western Europe looks at these subjects, or how the rest of the world looks at these subjects. So it doesn't really, it's open to everyone just to speak more about these subjects. That's actually the whole point of it.
So would you also like to bring it, not really back, because you're not in Eastern Europe at the moment, of course, but would you like to bring it there?
I would love to, yes, for sure. And also what I didn't mention before, what was really had an impact on me, and also what I think is important to know for the context, the title of my project, Marble Ass, is the English translation of a movie by Jiménez, who did a movie about queer sex workers in Belgrade in 1995. Also the year when I was born, and the year when the conflicts in the Balkans started to calm down. It was kind of also an homage to this movie where it was the first time I saw the question of gender, or the question of sexuality being exposed to like the public, and to open and see queer people in a role of power, as in this movie, was also like a fundamental base of my project. And that's why also that's where the name came from, and I found it important to share this with everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I am gonna just, if someone is interested, I'm part of Foam Talents editions this year, when my diploma will be shown at Foam this year. If anyone wants to come and see it, it's a pleasure.
Please send us an invitation.
I will.
So thank you very much, Pavo.
Thank you.
Then we will continue with Irina Dimitrovskaya, who is already in the space, I can see.
Hi.
So you can share your screen if you want.
Yeah, I will do that. Is the sound okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Irina Petrovska, and I'm an artist from Almaty, Kazakhstan. Actually, I'm a bit worried and hope my English will be good enough to talk about my project. I work with photography, video, and performative practices. In my work, I explore the themes of sexuality, queer, and gender. All of these topics are kind of taboo in Central Asia region. I'm trying to be brave in order to highlight these issues in my artwork. Also, I'm trying to experiment with my photography and develop my own view on social challenges within my practice. I think that one of the strong part of my practice is my personal experience. When I start research, I rely on my personal experience. Then I explore how this experience resonates with other people's experience and can be helpful to them as well. I really believe that the project can be powerful if it is based on what you personally care about and contains personal experience. Moreover, I'm sure that it is necessary to talk about how different the world, people, love, and relationships can be. I believe that by saying this, I'm helping to make the world a kinder and brighter place, even if it sounds a little naive. I should mention that I'm a part of the LGBTQ+ community, and as a part of community, I know well all challenges which queer people face in Kazakhstan. For example, in my project Don't Look at Pink, I dive into queer sexuality through observation of everyday communication between me and my partner. I'm thinking about sexuality and queer sexuality. Are there differences? And if so, what are they? In the country I live in, queer identity is referred to as immoral, unacceptable, At best, people would advise you not to tell anyone who you are. As I think about queerness, I take pictures of myself and my partner, and actually love is the only thing I see. I would like to continue work on my projects and develop ideas that I think are important: love, respect, human dignity, the right to be who you are, diversity. By doing that, I believe that more voices and points of view can be heard. And also, I hope in the future, I can make a book with my project or maybe an exhibition. So thank you for your attention. And there is my email, Instagram, and website if you want to join. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irina. Very interesting work. And I immediately wonder, you talked about that you as a person are actually being seen as immoral. That stuck with me in Kazakhstan. So I wonder, do you feel the freedom to make the work that you make? Or, yeah.
You know, I feel my personal freedom to do this, but it is a little bit hard to show this work somewhere in Kazakhstan.
And how was it because you graduated, so was it then presented within the art academy or how was it presented then?
You know, I have graduated from the school FOTODOK in St. Petersburg, Russia, and it was online education, and it was just like the same in the Zoom, so very private.
So that means that when it would have been physical, then it would have been maybe more difficult?
Yeah, certainly it would.
So has the work been shown in a physical space yet?
No, it hasn't.
Okay, then maybe that is a very big question to all experts in this space. Even though it's still a digital space, to maybe make sure that this work is actually physically seen in a space soon, because I think it deserves it.
It will be wonderful. Thank you.
So let me see if we have any questions. So Daria says, thank you so much, Irina.
Thank you.
Let me see, because yeah, I have one more question.
Okay.
So can you say that the project Don't Look at Pink is a therapeutic story for you?
Can you repeat once more, please?
So do you think the project is a therapeutic project for you to deal also with all emotions and issues that you have to deal with because of being...
Okay, I see. I think in some way it is. Because when I have started to work with it, it was very hard for me. And while I was working, I feel more freedom, more power, and at the end, something changed inside me also.
In what way?
In positive, of course. It gives me some hope, you know.
So it gave you hope to express who you are.
Yeah.
So it's now not yet out in the open or public, but it still is shared with an audience.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Irina.
Thank you.
So Michelle also says, thank you for sharing your work with us, very powerful. So thank you very much. We will continue with the presentation by Cora Soon, who cannot join us physically today. So she has shared a recording with us that we will now play. That also means that we cannot directly ask her questions afterwards. But if you share questions in the chat, then I will make sure I will send them to her or share your comments and I will make sure she gets them.
Lisanne, could you confirm that you can see the screen and everything is okay?
Yes, I can see the screen.
Okay, I click the play button. If something is with the sound, please let me know.
Yes.
Okay, camera is showing. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cora. First, I would like to introduce a bit of my background. I grew up in China and came to study in Hungary since 2014. Last year, I graduated from Moholy Nagy University of Art and Design, MoMA in short, with photography master degree. So now I'm still based in Budapest. And I would like to say thank you to MoMA Photography, Blurring Lines, and FOTODOK for this opportunity. The project I'm going to talk about is Journey to Home. It's my diploma project for a photography master degree at MoMA. And it's a very complex body of work which has 4 chapters representing different layers. Each chapter is connecting the dots of my memories of my hometown and my identities and the relationship with the past. You can find out more by scanning the QR code on the right-hand side. That's my website. Yeah. The first chapter, Hometown Redesign, is documentation of my hometown transition. It started when I went back to China for the first time after 5 years of living in Hungary. I was shocked. My hometown has completely changed. The old town next to where I grew up was demolished. And so I documented what I saw in this trip. This chapter has 15 photographs in total. Second chapter, There's a Light That Never Goes Out, is a study on self-identity by staging the memories. I use strong color and contrast to perform the raw emotions that I accumulated from growing up in my hometown. For me, the most important thing was that it was an inner journey of healing. This chapter also has a selection of 15 photographs. The third chapter, The Lost Memory of Us, are collages of archived portraits from my family relatives. I combined them with images from the first chapter in order to question whether collective memory still exists and whether sense of belonging has been weakened after a lieu de mémoire, place of memory, is vanished. The fourth chapter, Looking Back to the Future. I finished this project by making a fictional documentary in Budapest because of the pandemic. It was impossible to travel back to China. The similarities of modern buildings give me a chance to photograph a Chinese city in Budapest. I imitate the propaganda of a promised future from realistic advertisements as if we gradually adapt to the future of living. The next step for this project will be having an exhibition and possibly publish a photo book. If you're interested in this project and the art descriptions, feel free to contact with me. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye.
So even though you're not here, Cora, but thank you very much for sharing your story with us. If anyone has any questions, feel free to share them with me and I will share them with Cora. We're going to go directly to the presentation of Asaf Hinden. You're already here, I see. So feel free to share your screen.
Yeah, thank you. One moment, please. Yeah, so I'll just briefly introduce myself. My name is Asaf Hinden. I'm a visual artist working with photography and image-based works. I'm currently based in Tel Aviv, but also in Belgium. My BFA was at the Bezalel Academy of Arts and Design in Jerusalem, and my masters were at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp. The project that I'm going to share with you, A Parallel Chronicle, is currently shown at the Athens Photo Festival, but as well in Amsterdam at the Arti et Amicitia. I'm not sure if I said it correctly, it's in Latin after all. A Parallel Chronicle is a project that shed a light on various themes that I'm interested to work on with my photography works. I think that it's possible to catch up with it while I'm going through the presentation. This specific project corresponds with a specific historical event in the art market. In 1937, there was a forced art auction of an art collection owned by a Jewish philanthropist from Hamburg, Emma Budge. Her art collection was auctioned against her will, and I collaborated with the researcher of the provenance researcher of this specific case that until today is working on reclaiming artwork. To this day is reclaiming the artworks. This collaboration allowed me to obtain many raw materials that I worked with. For instance, on the left, you can see my work, Parrot, which is a 3D sculpting based on archive footage. On the right, it's one of the missing artworks that I worked with. This is a series of images within the project that I entitled Parallel Catalog, which is based on the original auction catalog, but here I created a fictional, hyper-realistic catalog that doesn't really exist. I integrated my original works, manipulation, photography works, collage works, and I framed them in a way that creates this kind of depth illusion in the space. So this is installation view of the parallel catalog. And here you can see briefly how it went down, let's say. On the left, it's the original works that were auctioned, and on the right is the process of creating the parallel catalog. It looks like this. Yeah, so I guess that the visuality of the past and the present altogether really influenced the project. For instance, you can see here like a 3D skeleton of this vase on top of the found footage, and original photography works that it came up while I was working on the project. These themes regarding source and evolution of art also exist in the photography works that accompanied the project. And this is the last work that I will share. It's one of the works in the project where I digitally erased letters that I didn't need from the auction catalog. And the sentence that you can see here is the worst thing that can happen is not to be used for anything or by anyone. This is at the FOMO Museum, Photo Museum of Antwerp, and at the moment in RT at Amsterdam. And this is my website and email and everything. That's it.
Thank you very much, Asaf. Beautiful work. I think it must have been a challenge to tell us about this project within 3 minutes. So I know that we only see a tip of the iceberg. But I'm wondering who you are as an artist, because there are so many different angles to this work that I'm curious, what is it that that interests you in general about this project?
It's interesting. First of all, my family's background, there's a lot of charged history there regarding refuge and immigration. And I guess that I'm always interested in these kind of topics as the references that I'm implementing in the works in various references, not in a very direct way. So as a descendant of a German Jew father that fled the war, I kind of have the tendency to be interested in this kind of, let's say, environment and the connection between visual art, decorative art with wars, disasters. This meeting point is very interesting for me to work in and invest in. And I guess that photography, regarding your question as an artist and a photographer, I'm interested to question photography as the photographic source, as a testimonial authority or documentary authority. How can I tell a story by using this medium, but to tell it in a different way, if it makes sense?
Yes, that makes complete sense. Yeah, I'm wondering what, do you also have political aspirations to really make a change with this work? Or is it more reflection on what has happened in history?
It's reflection, but also I really believe that everything is political. And when you have a date and you have a location, you're automatically obliged to not ignore the political history or the social political history of that area. So everything is political. This work is as well political. And it is also questioning things that are not that, let's say, political by nature. For instance, source and evolution of art. What are we doing here? We're talking about art, about photography. Who owns it? Who is the owner? What is the source of it? Those are questions that I also like to address maybe with the works.
Okay, then we have a perfect question by Steve Bisson that is very much connected to that one, to what you said. He says, great work, Asaf. I'm wondering in your research how you dialogue with the expertise and sources.
Interesting. What do you mean by expertise? The experts, the professional experts, I guess?
Can you elaborate a bit more, Steve?
Yeah, sure. Sorry to step in. Hi, Asaf. Yeah, I was just wondering how you measure yourself with what is actually, considered expertise, like an historian, those that normally in the field that you are engaging with are considered, the true source of information, as I said. So where did you place the limit? How much you give room to their information? How you cope with this kind of, authorities or expertise or true sources in general?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. I think that by collaborating with the researcher, his name is Eyal Dolev, and this is his present work. So the project is talking about something that happened in the 1930s, but it is present to this day. And by working with him, the researcher that knows the provenance of the artworks, where they are, is trying to reclaim them. I think it was an interesting, this is why I call it as well parallel chronicle, because he's doing the original expertise chronicle, and I'm doing all the questioning and interfering, and you know what I mean? So it is based on facts and the expertise, but it allows me to feel free and explore the boundaries within the facts,
Yeah, thank you. I like this idea, this image of you somehow filling into the gaps with your own, imagination and things around the facts. It's very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Asaf. I think there are a lot more questions popping into people's heads. So if anyone has additional questions, feel free to send it to me or directly to Asaf, and then we will make sure you get connected. So thank you very much for sharing your story with us. We will now continue with the work of Isha Galot. Are you here, Isha?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. You can share your screen.
Sure. Hello, everyone. It's nice. Thank you for having me here. I will just be sharing my screen. So my name is Isha, and I graduated from National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad last year. And I'll today be showing you bits and pieces of the work which got me my thesis. The title of the project is called Re, and the title comes from the word remembering. Now, when we cut the word into prefix and suffix, it says re and remembering. I'm referring to that re, wherein one is going back and gathering and binding together the members or parts of a memory and bringing it together. And the act of it itself gives a renewed meaning. So this through this project, I was trying to explore the themes of construction of memory, nature of memory, of remembering, repeating, recollecting, and forgetting as well. Now, what is memory? Memory is also a source of knowledge, and it is also a source of imagination. I'll just cut it concisely, and I'll take you directly to the images. Now, I'm a very tangible person, and I tend to float a lot with a lot of mediums. So one of the mediums which I started working was sculpturing, and I was making life-size sculptures of my head. And this was referring to the idea of self-preservation or freezing, or how I did not wanted a memory to change. But while this process, I was also informed with more and more ideas. For example, how past can really stay as a knowledge within the surface, within the texture, within that aspect. Another approach I took was that of repetitions, wherein I was referring to the act of repeatedly recalling a memory. And here I wanted to work with a medium which would give me this idea of, which could represent the idea of distortion, and using that medium as a device to represent an echo of memory. My personal family archives were a good source of inspiration for me here, and this is one of the interactive pieces, and I continued to explore more on my personal archives within this approach, and I ended up making quite a few of flip books, which we can come back to later. Now, another exploration or approach which I took was that of remembrance, wherein I was referring to, this is a stop motion. Herein I was referring to the physicality again of how memory is stored. And the medium I was using here, interestingly so, was plaster of Paris, and I used the same medium to make the whole sculptures of head and limbs and fingers. I'm going to probably jump to the next one because of lack of time. So the next one, interestingly so, was erasure, or wherein I was referring to forgetting and how I wanted to use erasure as a form wherein the effaced and the untold would make the narrative. I would really urge my viewers to come back to the website and you can explore it at your own time. On just the last one, wherein I have used all these ideas into image format. That's about it. I'm afraid I might have crossed my 3 minutes.
That's okay, Isha. We have a little bit of spare time left, so thank you very much. It's very inspiring to see how you seamlessly, effortlessly jump from one medium to the other. And I'm also therefore wondering, so in your opinion, what role does photography play in the constructing of the memory?
Oh, that's exactly what really like made me to start this project. So I'll tell you a bit about what got me excited. I was working with family archives of a friend of mine, and her father had more than 20 years and more than 100 albums of photographing just her alone. While I was working with those archives, I was talking to the family and taking interviews. And what really kept on coming back was the lady who was my friend. She really did not remember most of the times when the picture was taken. But right now, all her memories were exactly what the pictures were. She had seen the images so many times that her memory had accepted her, she had accepted those memories which were shown to her. So that idea of how pictures can give us memories is what started the project.
So thank you very much, Isha. We will, if you have any other questions for Isha, please share them in the chat or send them to her directly. We already shared the website as well, if you want to take a closer look. So now we're going to continue with the presentation by Raúl Jiménez. Are you already here? Yes.
I am. Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Raúl. Great to see you again. You can share your screen if you want.
Perfect. Okay. Everybody here. I'm sorry. Is my screen? I think I need to do something more. Hello, everybody. It's very nice to meet you all. There are already a few opportunities. I'm Raúl Jiménez. I'm a visual artist living and working in Mexico. Commit my body, which is English for vengan a comer mi cuerpo. In Well, operation essay and an experience that I have discovered rather waiting any organic being sooner or later. When I was 23, I was diagnosed with an incurable kind of cancer that had actually shaped my mind, my life decisions, and a reality normally averted from everybody's. With these images, do not disappear, do not become just a number or a statistic. Feeling shared with another thousands of people.
Raúl, I'm going to interrupt for a little bit because the sound is going on and off again, like at multiple moments. So maybe, I don't know if there is...
Okay, I'm going to...
Is there a way to get a better maybe?
Now? Now?
It's a little bit wobbly still, but let's give it a try. And if it's not working good enough, I will let you know. Is that okay?
I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, better than that. Sorry about that. I was saying, I'm sorry, I don't know if you heard me from the beginning or not.
I think it would be best to start from the beginning, just to make sure that we don't miss crucial information.
I was saying what. Okay. First of all, I forgot to say that some of these images are a bit strong, so please be advised. I was diagnosed at 23 with an incurable kind of cancer, and this shaped my mind and but also my decisions and my vision of life. Eventually, I discovered that I wasn't the only one, but of let's call unknown destiny and incapable of connect with their families, with their scenario, with their reality. And because of that, I started that took around a decade of my life. And after that, and thanks to recover a bit and obtain, I don't know if I can say it, more wish to live again. Me being, I don't know, can say it in other.
So Raúl, the connection is still a little bit bad, so it's very difficult
I'm angry.
To really understand your story. Is it maybe possible to reconnect later?
Yes, I can disconnect and reconnect again. Sorry.
Yeah. So we have two options. Maybe you can either talk now without the visuals and then we can show the visuals afterwards. Maybe that would be a solution because maybe the visuals in connection to the sound is a bit too much. So maybe you can tell your story without the visuals and then we can show the visuals afterwards. Is that okay? Shall we try if that works?
If I can't stretch that time, I will. You know what? I think it's better if I just leave the reunion and enter again.
Yes? Okay, perfect. Then maybe in the meantime, we will continue with the presentation of Mila. And then we will come back to Raúl, of course, in a later moment during this presentation. Yes, Mila, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I'll share my screen. Let's see if this works.
Can you see the presentation and hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay.
And yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, hello everybody. Thank you to FOTODOK for inviting me to be part of this, and thank you all for being here. My name is Lisanne van Happen. I'm a visual artist, but I'm also a forest ecologist in training. And in my work, I aim to bend these two disciplines of art and ecology closer towards each other. And I use field work as a fundamental method. So I go to specific areas where I collect plant material, leaves mostly, which I cut into tiny squares after I dried them. And I rearrange the leaves into these grids. And I'm very intrigued by this contradiction between nature's complexity and people's urge to untangle and neatly organize and divide the landscape. And this very often happens in the shape of a square. So to me, the square really characterizes a very human perspective. It's a form through which people aim to understand and grasp this notion of nature. And squares and grids are used in taxonomy or plant classification, for example, but also in cartography. And grids also appear physically in the landscape. And of course, the Dutch landscape, when you look at it from above, it's the perfect example. But this use of squares and grids, in my mind, also refers to pixels in digital imaging. So I'm also really fascinated by the act of photographically framing or capturing landscapes. And so far, I've mostly used or worked with leaves, but I've done a residency in Finland at Tuo last winter, where I've also started focusing on birch bark. And at the moment, I have two exhibitions running. One of them is 10 Leaves at Kasteel Weilre, which is a really wonderful museum in the south of the Netherlands, in Zuid-Limburg, which is open until the 19th of June. And another exhibition at Galerie Caroline O'Brien in Amsterdam, which is open until the 18th. And I'm currently also doing an internship at the Hoog Veluwe National Park to further deepen my knowledge, which in my experience really fuels my artistic practice also. Thank you for listening. You can find me online and my work can be found on my website. So feel free to be in touch, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mila. So once you complete the forest ecology training, will it be challenging to find a balance between the ecology and art?
Well, I mean, for me, my artistic practice really forms the base. That's, but I do wonder, because I really notice that every time I learn something new, like from a scientific point of view about the landscape, I do like walk through the forest with different eyes, so to say. So I really wonder how much room for imagination there will be left as I gradually learn more and more like factual information about the landscape. So but for me, it's like, I think the merging of the two fields could be really, valuable from both like points of view, like both as an ecologist and as an artist. I think, there's much to gain, like moving in between the different fields. So
I think that is also connecting the question raised by Marga Rotteveel. She says, interesting work. Can you elaborate a bit more on what it is, what you want to address? Where do you want to make impact?
Yeah, to me, like this, so I see like a huge overlap or similarities between scientifically observing or questioning landscapes or capturing landscapes, and artistically looking at the land. And in both cases, I would say that very often there is this sense of ownership over the landscape, as you scientifically or artistically like look at it. And that's something I wish to like critically question. And that's also partly why I focus on this shape of the square, because I think this shape also brings a very heavy like power play with it, sort of imposing this grid onto a landscape and its inhabitants. And yeah, this controlling and domination is something I want to question and research.
Okay, thank you. So another question by Steve Bisson. He says, wonderful. What are the ethical implications in the representation of nature?
Yeah, I think that links also to my like what I just said, but definitely what I find fascinating in art is also that nature as a notion or as a concept is either like from an artistic point of view, either looked at as material that can be sculpted, that can be like taken out of its context and used, or it's like put on this pedestal or sort of like romanticized. And in both cases, it's still the position of the artist is still imposing. So I think there's like this power play has is just like really fascinating. And I think in my work, I try to reflect on this, like this very question, if that answers the question in some way.
I think it does, but Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. So another question by Puk Barendrecht. She asks, is there a relation between the specific use of plant material and the specific image that comes out of it? Can you maybe give an example?
Yeah, so each of my works is, the basis or the start point is the landscape in which I find myself. So, and that sort of leads me to formulate my own rules. You could almost say like pseudo-scientific rules. And yeah, it could be, for example, that I start collecting plant material from one species only, or like along the lines of a specific route that I want to walk through an area. I've made like more recent works have been focusing on the forest floor. So I would just like try to make, try to mirror the leaves that I find on a piece of forest floor by like very systematically sort of scanning it, which also has a nice link to photography in my mind. Like it's very similar to an aerial photograph almost, like really systematically scanning an area like line by line. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Mila.
Thank you.
For sharing your work, and really curious to see what comes next as well. So a lot of thank yous in the chat. We will continue with the presentation by Anna Gajewski. Anna, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Yes. Hey. Okay, you can share your screen if you want.
Yeah. Okay. So you see my screen and
yes,
hear me?
we do. Yes.
Okay, good. So hello everybody, and I would also like to thank you for FOTODOK to give me this opportunity, and everyone who's here today. I'm Anna Gajewski, and I'm a Hungarian photographer. I graduated last year from the same school where Cora went, Mohylian University of Arts and Design. And I will talk a little bit about my work that was selected for Blurring the Lines. It's called In the Search for Venus. This is a very intimate work about my body and about myself. It started off, well, actually, I was just turned 18 when I had like a lot of problems with my period and hormones, and several doctors told me that it will be really difficult for me to conceive a child. So, and I also struggled with my femininity throughout my teenage years, and it was really hard for me. So I started to take photos of my body, and started to try to see them. I mean, to try to see my body from a very like so from just to take the natural way, you know, just to take these photos of my body and of myself. And in the meantime, and oh, sorry, why is it not okay? And I was actually searching for my own femininity, like looking at my body and like seeing, you know, like where I can see the beauty in my body and what are the parts that I don't like about my body. At the meantime, I also started to search for these Venus depictions in fine art, and this led me to these really old ancient Venus sculptures that you probably all are familiar with some of them. And I started to kind of like picture my own body in a way that they were like as they remained in art history. And I worked with collages, and so these are all photos that I've taken, and then I printed them out, and then I made these collages. And basically the whole work is just about me facing my fears with my own body and searching for my own femininity. And also I play with the idea of like becoming a mother and being an actual mother. And I wanted to show people that it's with this project is that it's quite hard to I mean, for some women, I think a lot of women, and I also know this because a lot of women have come to me with this, that it's really hard to accept our bodies. It doesn't matter what condition it is. And I just play with this idea. And I also made a book of this work that you can see here, because I really wanted to, I like it when the photos are where you can touch them and where you can like, you know, like go and look them closer, and when they're printed out, because I really enjoy when the photos are not just on the screen. And it was also exhibited, but sadly because of COVID, no one could actually see it, because we made the exhibition and the next down they locked down the whole city. But why I show you this is because I had this idea to exhibit these photos on these huge sheets, and you can see through them, because I think that most of the times when we see women like in this size, it's more like about, you know, you see these advertisements about women's bodies. I mean, not women's body, but like they show women's body in a very different way. And I wanted to recreate this, but in a very different version. So when people step into this room, they see this huge woman, but it's also like a little bit like it can be a little bit like scary, or I don't know, like you need to face actually me and yourself as well as you walk through these huge sheets. And this project was actually just it was really important for me. It was it led me on the way, which I mean, it led me to this further work, which is called Ask About My Mother. And I just showed these 5 photos of it. And the reason is why I'm showing this, because I want to widen my angle, and I'm interested in also in my family members, how they see their bodies, how they are connected to their femininity. I'm from Transylvania, Romania, actually, but I live in Budapest. And for me, it's really important to see how my family members are connected to their femininity and what effect that has on me. So this is my third project, and these are my contacts. And yeah, it was a really short time, so I only talked about a few things, but thank you for listening. And yeah, I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you for sharing this work. I'm wondering, how do you see the role of the self-portrait within your practice?
Can you repeat? I'm not sure if I understand, sorry, that question.
So I'm curious, in this project, the self-portrait is very much, well, it's very important. It covers almost 100% of your photographs. So
Yeah.
I'm curious in what way it in general is important to you to use self-portraits in also your other work.
Yeah, this was my first time I did self-portraits, because I used to photograph other people, and I did this on the quarantine because I was, basically by myself. I think for me it was really important because it got me to a point where I'm not ashamed anymore about my body. So I can talk about my body and I can show it to you. I did have a few, like really few, but bad experiences on social media because they deleted my account and things like that. But other than that, I think I'm just really honest about it. And I think we need to talk about the woman's body still, especially here in Eastern Europe. So I do think it's important, but in my later work, like Ask About My Mother, which is, I'm not sure if that will be the title, but so far it is. I want to photograph other women as well, not just myself. But taking these self-portraits has got me to a place where I'm like more confident about myself and about my body. So it is really important for me.
So would you also like to, when you say you want to photograph other women as well, would you also like to photograph them in the same way that you photographed yourself?
Yeah, I think yes, but with this work, in the search for Venus, I think this is I don't really want to continue with this work. I might do later, but now I think I want to move on and a little bit use a different type of photography and maybe include these in that work. Yes, so but I do want to take, if you're asking me like if I want to take like a naked photo, or I would like to, but for me it's really important that the person who I'm taking a photo of feels like okay with what I'm doing. So only if I get to the point with the person that okay, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, there are so many questions popping into my head, but yeah, maybe the one I'm maybe most curious about is because you're talking about maybe future projects as if you're really thinking about something that you would like to continue with. So what is it that you want to focus on besides photographing other women, of course?
Yeah. I go back here. So what I want to focus on, you see, these are totally different images, but what I want to focus on is that to see where my family, where I'm come from, which is Transylvania, Romania. It's a small part of Romania, used to be part of Hungary. And it's a small village. And I think that a lot of like my family members have been through some traumas, like, Second World War, and after that, the Ceausescu regime. And I want to see how these, for example, how my grandmother saw her body and her femininity and how that affects me now, because I think this is really important. And I think we also so in my project, there's like two things I want to focus on. First of all, first thing is the family. So I want to see how my family and my family background affected me as a woman, and what are the issues that I'm facing now. How can it be connected to my relatives? And the other part is society, which is will focus on high school, specifically the years that I've spent in high school, like these teenage years, because I think these are the two especially, I mean, for me, I don't want to talk in everyone's name, no, but for me, these were the 2 points where the way I see myself was affected the most. So this is what I want to work with.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anna. Then we will now continue with the presentation of Vaginak Gazarian, who is maybe bringing a translator. And if not, then our lovely producer Vika can translate. So if you understand me, Vaginak, you can share your screen.
Yes, hello. My name is Vaginak Gazarian. Just a minute. Hello.
Yes, we can see it.
Меня зовут Vaginak Gazarian. My name is Vaginak Gazarian. I am documentary photographer. I work in 4+ Documentary Center in Yerevan. Now the translator Armando will help me.
Hello.
In proiectul կոչվում է Confused Space.
My project is named Confused Space.
Ես այն սկսել եմ, երբ որ սկսվեց պատերազմ Հայաստանի եւ Ադրբեջանի միջև Լեռնային Ղարաբաղում.
I started to work on this project when the war between Armenia and Azerbaijan started in 2020.
2020 թվականին, որովհետև 44 օր.
So as you may probably know, the war lasted for 44 days and it took place in the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh.
Եվ ես մեկնեցի այնտեղ հաջորդ օրը եւ լուսանկարեցի միջև պատերազմի ավարտը.
I left for Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh, right after the next day. The war broke out and remained there until the war ended.
Պատերազմից հետո եկավ երկրորդ этаպը, երբ որ կնքվեց պայմանագիր Երակող Ռուսաստանի Հայաստանի Ադրբեջանի միջև.
That was the second period after the war when this truce between Armenia, Azerbaijan, intermediated by Russia was concluded.
Եվ այն տարածքները, որ պետք է հանձնվեին, մարդիկ էին դուրս գալի ընտանիքներ, Ադրբեջանը պետք է հանձնվեին, մեկ օրում, երկու օրում պետք է հասնեին դուրս գային, այդ տարածքներում եղա.
And I went to the territories that in the Nagorno-Karabakh region where these territories were to be given to Azerbaijan. So I went there before the people of Artsakh would leave their homes and these territories.
Եվ կային ընտանիքներ, որոնք իրենց ձեռքով այրում են իրենց սեփական կառուցած տունը.
I saw families there who burnt the houses they built.
Դրանից հետո ես սկսեցի աշխատել զոհված զինվորների մայրերի հետ.
After I returned, I started working with the mothers of the fallen soldiers.
Հանդիպում էի, զրուցում էի, իրենք պատմում էին իրենց պատմությունը եւ ես շարունակեցի իրանց հետ աշխատել.
I met them, talked to them. They would tell me about their sons and their stories. So I continued working on my project.
Եվ ամեն մի ընտանիքում եղավ զինվորի մի անկյուն, որտեղ զինվորի պատկերն էր եւ այնտեղ դրվում էին զինվորի իրերը, որոնք զոհվելուց հետո վերադարձել են իրենց։
In every family who lost a soldier during this war, I would find a memorial corners in these houses with objects that they found after their son's death.
Եվ ես սկսեցի լուսանկարել այդ իրերը, օրինակ այս իրը։
And I started to photograph those objects, for example, the image you see here now.
Որը գտնվել է զոհված զինվորի մոտից, որը ձեռքով նկարված քարտեզն է, մարտական գործողությունների։
This is a hand-drawn map of actions, military actions drawn by a soldier.
Եվ իմ թեման դարձավ ես ասած այդ ընտանիքի կորցրած եւ բացակայության մասին եւ դրա հաղթահարման մասին.
So my project came focused on the families who had lost sons and on the issues of how they cope with the absence of their sons.
Եվ օրինակ այս պատկերում զինվորի մոտից բերված դրամապանակ է, որտեղ պատկերված է իր ընկերուհին, զինվորի ընկերուհին մանկության ֆոտոն, զինվորի ընկերուհին.
So in this image you see a childhood photo of a soldier's girlfriend found in his wallet. This is actually the wallet of a fallen soldier.
Այսպես անկյուներ ամեն տանում կա որտեղ կա զոհ.
And this is the memorial corner I told you about it. That these memorial corners are common in the families who have lost their sons.
Իր վերջի կոնֆետը, որը հասել է ծնողներին, այսպես վերադարձրել են իր սիրած զինվորի.
And this is a sweet candy that was found by the body of that soldier and was returned back to the parents.
Եվ ծնողները սկսեցին գրել այսպիսի իրենց զինվորների տղաների պատկերով ֆոտոներ մայկաներ.
Many parents, especially mothers, would also print the photos of their sons on t-shirts and start wearing those t-shirts.
Նույնպես զինվորի մոտի իրերն են.
And again, this is a cross found with the soldier's body.
Եվ սկսեցի կենտրոնանալ արդեն զոհված զինվորների պորտրետների վրա.
And so I started to focus on portraits of fallen soldiers.
Լուսանկար, որը նույնպես պահված մեր զինվորի մոտ եւ այսպես վերադարձել է ծնողներին, իրենց կապը այս ամեն ինչից շատ ուժեղ է ծնողների եւ իրանք հատուկ ձևով են իրենց պահում.
And this is a photograph found in the soldier's breast pocket after the war. It actually depicted the soldier's father, mother, his family, and so they keep it as a keepsake, a token of their son.
Սա մայրերի նույնպես պորտրետ է իր որդու պատկերով.
So this is the portrait of one of the mothers with the image of her son on her t-shirt.
Իր որդու սենյակում.
She is sitting in her son's room.
Եվ կենտրոնում են բացակայության թեմայի վրա, թե բացակայությունը ոնց կհաղթարվի ծնողների կողմից, եւ դեռ շարունակում եմ չի ավարտվել.
So as I already mentioned, my subject is focused on the absence of the sons and how the parents deal with this grief and absence, and this project is an ongoing one.
Եվ 4 էտապ է պարունակում. Պատերազմ, հետպատերազմյան շրջան, ծնողների պորտրետներ, հետո զինվորների պորտրետներ եւ առարկաներ.
So the project encompasses 4 stages: war, post-war, portrait of soldiers' parents, mothers namely, and objects left after the soldiers.
Շնորհակալություն.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vagnak, and thank you, Armina, as well for translating.
Thank you.
The question that I actually had for you, you already answered in the end, because the question that I had for you is, are you considering documenting other conflicts as well? So do you consider yourself to be a war photographer or a post-war photographer?
Վաղնակ շնորհակալություն դու գրեթե պատասխանեցիր այն հարցին, որ ես քեզ պատրաստում էի տալ, այնուամենայնիվ հարցը դու պատրաստում ես արդյոք այլ կոնֆլիկտներ լուսաբանել, եւ երկրորդ հարցը դու պատերազմի լուսանկարիչ ես, թե հետ պատերազմյան լուսանկարիչ ես։
Ես պատերազմ լուսանկարել եմ, հետ պատերազմյան շրջան լուսանկարել, բայց ես չեմ համարում պատերազմական լուսանկարիչ։
Well, I have photographed war in the post-war period, and both during war and post-war, but I don't consider myself as a war photographer.
Որտեւ ես լինելով այս երկրում, այս կոնֆլիկտը ինձ է առնչվել եւ ես եմ որոշել առանց որևէ խմբագրության պատվերի գնալ լուսանկարել, իմ նախաձեռնությունն է։
This was solely purely my initiative to go and document war as a citizen of this country. It was my own initiative without any commission or order from editor to go and fix this.
Եվ այլ երկրների կոնֆլիկտներ չեմ լուսաբանել։
And I haven't ever covered any other conflicts of other countries.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your story. Anyone else has any other questions for Vagnak, please feel free to share them via the chat or via me, and then I will make sure they end up in his email. So thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you, Armina, for translating.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Then we will continue with the presentation of, let's see, Alexander Comenda. And after Alexander, we will try to connect with Raúl Jiménez again. So Alexander, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. First of all, thank you for this opportunity and for having me here. And yeah, so please feel free to reach out for just to talk or really anything after this. And well, my name is Alexander Komenda. I'm a Polish-Canadian documentary photographer and artist. I'm currently based in Helsinki, Finland, where I'm doing my master's at Aalto University. And before delving into the project that I got selected for Blurring the Lines, which is Just Palace, I just have this opening statement that will perhaps help contextualize my work. So I was once told that knowing somebody for 10 years or 10 minutes can have equal meaning. I say hello, bonjour, get, salam alaikum. I look people in the eye, I listen, I respond, I sit down, we break bread, we drink tea, I ask questions, I show respect, we smile, we laugh, we argue. I'm not a missionary, I don't act like I know best or represent a society that does. This always comes first before any photograph is made, taken, constructed, captured, or created. So following 7 trips to Kyrgyzstan between 2016 and 2022, alongside both extensive field research, discussions, and readings, the visual amalgamation attempts to refrain from any documented impurity. This is over half a decade's worth of bearing witness to people putting on shoes like watching a glacier move. As much an observation as it is a meditation, as much my father's workplace works as a human rights advisor in the region, as it became my workplace as a photographer. So this is just sort of a quick brief as to how I sort of ended up in Kyrgyzstan initially. And then I came across a story which explores the Soviet colonial legacy of a former uranium mining town in Kyrgyzstan, Mylusu, and how its externalities are both apparent or not seen in everyday life. It is intended as an antidote to sensationalist storytelling on topical issues. Legend has it that the first atomic bomb was made for the Soviet program that originated from this town. For many years, it was a restricted community known as codename Mailbox 200. So now I have been to Mylusu 3 times between 2019 and 2022, and have mainly bonded with the Russian diaspora, which has remained from this era. And I try to look at everyday life and the overlooked, perhaps, revelation or reevaluation of the mundane. And I still try to function within this format of a photographic essay as a poetic storytelling tool. Yes, so basically, this body of work is a chapter or say a volume in what I want to make 7 different volumes of documentary work, or sort of chapters about Kyrgyzstan. And this is my sort of initial book dummy here, which I intend to launch alongside an exhibition eventually. And my most recent work has been in March of this year, where I've returned to Kyrgyzstan, to the same town, and also expanded further into the Fergana Valley and focused on the underlying inter-ethnic issues that have been propagated by Soviet colonialism and exploring this post-colonial landscape and Uzbeks and Kyrgyz and Tajiks. So yeah, please, I don't have my contacts here in the presentation, but you can reach me at my website, which is alexanderkomenda.com, and that's also my Instagram. And thank you once again for listening and for your attention.
So thank you very much, Alexander. We already shared your personal information, like your website, in the chat, so people know where to find you and to find your work. And I'm wondering, so in what way does photography, or what influence does photography play in the way the contemporary world has been shaped, do you think?
Well, I guess that's a pretty big question. I guess it depends. What do you mean by that exactly?
So your photographs give a very political view, let's say, on the world. You have you're very, it's almost activistic work, even though it looks very kind and maybe appears to be objective.
Yeah.
But obviously you have a very strong opinion on what is happening in the world. So I'm wondering, in what way do you think photography contributes to that?
I think it's sort of like an excuse to talk to people on like a ground level and have a discussion and have a dialogue. I think once you have a camera, it sort of gives you a reason to enter people's homes and talk and speak, and it's an excuse to reach out. So I think for me, it's maybe more in the process that it's more of a tool for change than it is maybe in the end results, at least on the ground. In that way, I feel that the most impact that I can have is that also through the way that I make my images, I can also have the subjects participate in a way that sort of brightens their day, or so there's sort of different levels to that. But of course, the end result is also important, and you then reach out to different audiences. But then there tends to be like a sort of a gap that it's like consumed by Western audiences, and then maybe not so much as it should be on a local level. That's what I mean by just the process itself of photographing. I think for me, it's this way to have a conversation and get to meet people and learn and sort of participate in what it really is versus what we hear. But of course, it is a point of view. It's not objective, and I'm definitely not claiming that it is objective. That's for sure.
No, that's clear. Yes, thank you. So we have another question, last question by Steve Bisson. Could you elaborate more on the books that you're planning? How would you think this ambitious and long-term target would affect the freedom and evolution of your documentary work?
Well, I think it's part and parcel of my own personal evolution as a photographer, actually. I feel like somehow, ever since my first trip to Central Asia in 2013 in the Altai region, which sort of like gave me this whole spark to want to photograph. And in some way, there are all these reasons that I can give why, like, you know, of course, there's also family and all this involved in some way, like family living there, but it just sort of happened that way, like a Kieślowski movie or something, where things sort of just happened to, that part of the world happened to influence or push me and propel me forward to making photographic work. And that's where I've sort of been able to find my style in many ways. And I don't know exactly 100% why that is, but also for that reason, I want to create these sort of volumes and different chapters for the work, so that they all have sort of their place in these like small stories and bigger ideas. And I think that's also because of the amount of work that has been made at different times. I feel that volumes or chapters are the best sort of way to address just the sheer volume of images.
Yeah, I'm curious how this work will work out within the narrative of a book. So looking forward to see more. Alexander, we have to move on to the presentation of Raúl, but thank you very much for sharing your work. So
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So last but not least, we're going to continue with Raúl Jiménez. We're going to try to connect again, Raúl. One of the winners of the Blurring the Lines edition of last year. So let's try to connect again and see if this works better.
First of all, are you hearing me?
Yes, we do.
Oh, perfect. Sorry about that. It is raining very hard here in Mexico. And probably that's why the sound was so bad. Following Lisanne's advice, I'm going to turn off my screen, explain, and then show my picture so I don't force the connection. And I hope that way I can manage to accomplish the mission here.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So perfect. Well, I was saying this project is it has been developed since 2019. The project is called come eat my body, or vengan a comer mi cuerpo in Spanish. It is somehow a self-referential essay, and it is based on an experience I realized is awaiting any and all organic beings sooner or later. When I was 23, I was diagnosed with an incurable kind of cancer that had shaped my mind and my life, my decisions, my body, my expectations, my visions, etc. What I discovered is that most people have this kind of reality averted and it is not in their vision. So whenever someone feels or falls ill, like I did, they tend to disappear, they tend to fall out of society, and eventually they become just an statistic, a number. Most of them feel really alone and incapable of connect with other people, incapable of connect with the experience itself, which is a sheer atrocity. However, although I was diagnosed 17 years ago, and it took me 10 years of my life to get out of danger, I am not cured, and I will never be cured. I'm somewhat, some only resisting. Mhm. Um, and this got me very angry with, first of all, my own reality, which it really hurt me. It really hurt the delusion of my youth and the delusion of my health. I was not a healthy child. I was born with another problem, and it was again and again and again. And eventually, I became desensitized, and I experienced a whole decade of my life trying to get better. I left the school. I was to become a lawyer back then. I left. I also enjoyed writing. I stopped writing. I actually stopped everything. And as I said, they took me a whole decade. And eventually, I started to shake out the depression. And to be honest, what allowed me to shake off the depression was photography. I started trying to photograph my own emotions, mainly and mostly, first of all, my anger, and eventually all other emotions that were afflorating inside me. And thanks to that, and of course, a bit of therapy, I was able to refine a wish to live. When I was finally out of danger, I restarted my university. I finished my career as a lawyer, and I then I entered a course to start photography properly, realizing what I was going to do. Right now, I'm also studying a master in writing in Salamanca. And honestly, this project, yes, it is about me, but it is also about all other people. I found this kind of desperation in so many people I met during these 10 years of treatment, that it got me heartbroken, completely heartbroken, to find a reality that it is shown from most people, several persons never seen, never experienced it. So I use photography as a means to connect with my inner perceptions, with the uneasiness that comes from understanding my own problem, and also with my body, my family, my immediate society. And eventually, I also found out that through this canal, I can actually start to question other problems regarding health and the political issues, and mainly how health is taken and work around the globe, and how this industry that it is the health has sadly polluted with a lot of political issues. My next project is about how a medicine that it was once used in me, it was also used to kill thousands of people in executions in United States, in China, Guatemala, Israel, etc., several, no, sorry, Israel, no, Egyptian, several countries. But well, that's something else. Right now, I think I have finished developing this first project. It has reached 80 spreads of a book I'm trying to have published. It's not that easy. First of all, the images aren't um, that easy to see. A couple of publishers have actually backed out after seeing most of the project. I'm right now working with Hydra in Mexico, but also I'm also looking for an editor that could help me take a better look. I have make my own version of the book, but I really would appreciate an editor. And also, due to COVID, I have to actually stop working because with the COVID and with the problem of cancer, I was I was in a risk population. So I have used all my savings to remain here, and I'm also looking for a way. I don't know if uh, maybe a possibility of have financial help to print the project, to publish the project as a book. The project has been starting to generate interest in a couple of publishers, but I'm still working around that. I don't know anything else to say, but now I'm going to share the images because I suppose you have been hearing me. Yes, right?
Yes, thank you very much, Raúl. It would be great to look at your and also
Yeah,
get a
because
visual
no, that was maybe I was talking with myself, and that wasn't really well.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take a chance because I last due to this accidental situation of of the rain. I'm going to share the entire book and maybe it like 30 seconds more that most the people. I'm sorry if it's not okay. I will stop. As I said, this is called Come Eat My Body or Vengan a comer mi cuerpo en español, in Spanish. And it is a journey of pain, honestly. It is a journey of violence. I have found to grow inside me. These are my parents, and this is actually my first finished project after graduating. I don't have an Instagram page or a Behance page because both platforms have censored, and I tried like 3 times to up this project, and yet again and again it gets turned down. So right now, good an artist I really respect and appreciate, which is called Nelson Garrido, has given me an space in his website, which is called La ONG. It is the information published with the brochure I suppose you received in the mail. And I'm starting to also develop my own page as well to include this project and the next one. The next one is going to be some sort of a viral campaign. I want to take the same approach the company who developed this medicine, this drug, did 70 years ago. And because of that, I'm trying to imitate how they do it, but bring it that to the modern days. So it has to be somewhat of a better pain. And I'm going to use the TikTok platform to put most of the images. I hope I can manage to have the images stay at least a month or something like that. And eventually, with those same videos, I'm going to make my own page about the subject. This is well, this is the book. As I said before, some of the images are a bit hard to see. I'm sorry about that. I don't know if someone may feel uneasy with that, and that's all. I'm going now to start my screen and hope you have been hearing me, seeing me. Okay, perfect.
Yes, it was perfect. I think in the end we could have done it at the same time because it worked perfectly, you talking and showing the work, but I think it's nice to be sure. Of course, we've seen your work before, and every time I see it, it grabs me with my at my throat because it's as you also said, it's about pain and it's also very painful work. So I'm wondering, like, how was this the entire book that we just saw in a road
Yes,
trip?
yes, it is. They are 80 spreads. I go through it very fast, but they are still 80 spreads. Yes, it is the entire book, but it is the entire book without I don't know. It is called a design because I also have a few more texts and something like that. I think most of the text should be included in the last part of the book, so I don't disrupt this kind of flow with the images. But that's one of the reasons I'm looking for a designer. The designer that actually got interested first saw a few of the images, the ones I published in Instagram before they were taken down. And eventually he said, you know what, I'm going to be honest with you. The work is too hard for me. I'm not connecting with it. I can't work with 10, 15 images because I have to stop and do something else. So it is not for me. And well, it was a reality. So I'm still yet looking for a designer that can help me with that.
So do you also, because I think the work is super powerful, and I don't have trouble looking at it, even though it is painful, as I said before. But do you feel that the harshness of the photographs is maybe a boundary for people to look at the work?
I have found this. Some people have received the work very well, but there are quite a few that, for example, I had a small exhibition here in Mexico, and actually I didn't attend, but the reaction they told me was two of a kind. Some people enter and went out almost immediately, and some people enter and spend quite a lot of time. So it is a dividing work. Some people are ready to see that. Maybe others find it echoes with difficult experience of themselves. They maybe aren't willing to relive. I don't know. So it has been slightly hard to find a wider audience. And as I said, I tried also Behance, and Behance sent me a very nice letter in which they informed me that this work was read, but it was also cataloged, so I can see it. So thank you very much. I don't really need to see it myself in the Behance platform, but I really appreciate the thought.
Okay, thank you very much, Raúl. If anyone has any questions afterwards or by seeing this recording, please reach out to us or reach out to Raúl directly, of course, and we will keep you connected. So thank you very much, Raúl. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you very much, photographers, for being present today and showing your work and sharing your stories with us. Feel free to keep us updated on any future projects you will be doing. Thank you very much again, Klaus and Steve and Blurring the Lines, for making this selection of great, fantastic artists. I'm looking forward to also the upcoming edition of Blurring the Lines, which will start in only a few weeks. So thank you very much, everyone. And hopefully see you soon.
Indeed, thank you very much, all. And it was I had a blast seeing most of you. I didn't get to meet before some of you, but I was very happy with the opportunity. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Vika. Maybe we can stop the recording for now.